Welcome, everyone, to DEI After 5, the show that focuses on topics across diversity, equity, and inclusion with some of the brightest minds in the industry. Here's your hostess, inclusive culture curator and coach, Sacha Thompson.
Hey, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of DEI After 5. Okay, so if you have been with us from day one, you know that our very first episode was on emotional intelligence. And I did that because I felt that that was such a critical part of doing this work. But the more and more I do leadership development and training and coaching and working with individuals inside and outside of the workplace, emotional intelligence has become something that is just critical in all aspects of our lives and not just the workplace. And so today we are going to talk about that. And so my guest is Candace Tuck, who's an emotional intelligence specialist and the spirit chiropractor. And so we will have some conversations about emotional intelligence and how to really tap into who you are and understand what that means and how you show up. So Candace, welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone. I'm excited.
Yay, me too. So for folks who don't know who you are, can you give us a little bit about you and what is the spirit chiropractor thing?
Okay, I'll start there.
Okay.
It basically came about, I have been a part of education for 22 years, and I was at an alternative school, and it's an environment that I absolutely love. And I walked in one day, and one of the teachers was like, "There go the spirit chiropractor," and it just stuck. It felt so loving. And she said she called me that because of my ability with the kids that are coming in, they're upset, all type of emotions, and just the way that I was able to communicate with them to help them get their spirit and emotions back to alignment with the truth of who they are. And so for me, as my, just as Candace, I'm just somebody that believes that we all have greatness within us, and it's about unleashing that greatness. And through my own personal journey, walk in life, I've had an experience of having to discover who I really am, and grateful now for every experience, but maybe not so much while I was actually going through it. So right now I'm a spiritual life coach and relationship coach, work with couples as well, and just am enjoying the opportunities that I get to speak and do all the things that God has called me to do. So that's just a little bit about me.
I love that. And you know what caught my attention with spiritual chiropractor is about alignment, right? So many of us are out of alignment with our emotions and who we are and our values. We just kind of operate in the world and are guided, but not necessarily understanding what is guiding us. And so to have someone like you that can kind of help put some of those pieces together or put words and names to the things, right? We're not just floating in space. Something is guiding us, and it's understanding what that is. And so I love that description because it is very descriptive. I mean, it's very descriptive. It tells you exactly, what it is that we need. And for many of us, we need to go to a chiropractor anyway for our physical bodies and, now for your spiritual body. So I appreciate that. So you talk a lot about emotional intelligence. And like I said, at the top, that was one of the first topics that I talked about when I did this podcast. What is it about emotional intelligence that you think people don't necessarily get or understand?
I want to say a simple definition of it. I think when you first hear it, it sounded a little bit complex. And I'm like, what is a simple way to just inform the people what emotional intelligence is? And it really is knowing who you are and being able to articulate how you feel in the moment and understanding why I do what I do. So I'm intelligent. I'm aware. I am smart in this area, which is me. I know me. And when you can know you, you know how certain situations I may not need to put myself in because I know
Mhm.
me. Or if I'm in this situation, how do I conduct myself to where it is not a detriment to me? Everything starts with us. As long as we are looking outside of us, then you can be reacting versus responding. And so
Yeah.
I think emotional intelligence is so important, just the awareness of who you are and being able to be authentically you.
Yeah. It's so funny because I do a workshop on psychological safety and emotional intelligence like together.
Hmm.
And when I go over that section on emotional intelligence, one of the first things I show people is that emotions wheel.
Hmm.
And I did this maybe 2 weeks ago with a client and everyone in the room sat back in their seat because, as I would say, as part of American culture, we know maybe 4 or 5 emotions, right? That's kind of what you see every day. You're happy, you're sad, you're frustrated, you're excited. There may be one other that you can think of.
Hmm.
But those are kind of the go-to. But when you show that emotions wheel and it breaks it down to, I believe it's close to 80 different emotions that
Yeah.
you can have, right? It really causes people to pause. And so what I'm hearing from you is you need to be able to understand who you are and what are those triggers that you may have. How do you deepen what those emotions are, like what those feelings and emotions are?
Yeah.
Because it may not be anger, it may be
Right.
frustration, it
Hmm.
may be confusion, it may be anxiety, it may be something else, rather than what we're so used to going to.
Yeah.
And so when you're working with folks or when you're talking to people around tapping into those emotions, what are some of the things that help them figure that out?
It is the and now this is one thing that I really love highlighting is when people like say they have anger issues. I'm like, okay, well, anger is a secondary emotion. So
Mm,
let's go deeper. Let's figure out what is at the root of the anger. And like you said, and let me raise my hand because that was me as I was going through my spiritual life coaching program. I just found myself naming those basic emotions that you just said, and they gave us a feeling wheel, and I was like, "Ooh, this
mhm.
feels so supportive of me right now because it's not anger or that's not what I'm feeling." And when you cannot identify the truth of what it is,
Yeah,
it can just bring about more confusion. And definitely if you're trying to explain it to somebody, it's like, I'm not mad, but you seem like you're mad. Okay,
yeah,
let me pull out my feeling wheel. Let
yeah,
me identify this is what I'm feeling right here. So it's helping my clients go deeper than surface because initially, like our patterns, we're operating 90 to 95% unconscious, just stuff we are used to doing.
mhm,
Only 5% is conscious. So in that, it's like, okay, let's stop. Let's tap in. Let's go deeper. Let's think. And like I run my practice off of Romans 12:2. Do not conform any longer to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the
mm,
renewing of your mind. And so we have to first of all see what the pattern is that's
right,
connected. And so I also take my clients through a uh, we call it the inner listening cycle. It's called many different things where a circumstance is just a circumstance. The moment you have a thought, that's when you start triggering all the other things. So from the thought, you're going
mm,
to get a feeling. So we have this feeling. Let's trace it back to the thought. And we just kind of bounce in between those to find out, okay, so that's why I did what I did to get this response. So it's
right,
really just allowing people to get present within their bodies and even feel it because our emotions talk to us and they express through our bodies. So we can
mhm.
even tap into that. So it can be so many different ways that we can get to what's really going on.
Yeah. That last part of what you said just kind of resonated with me, because I know I personally, for years, had to deal with anxiety, like just managing anxiety and living in this very high stress, fight or flight. My body was just constantly in this fight or flight. And it took me after the third trip to the ER,
Mhm.
figuring out, okay, what is the cause? Like, why am I constantly in this state? And
Yeah.
realize, okay, I'm in a horrible situation at work, right? Like, it
Mhm.
is just keeping me in this fight. I feel like I'm constantly fighting.
Yeah.
And it took going, like, taking myself out of that environment
Mhm.
to, one, start to normalize what, like, not living in reaction looks like all
Yeah.
the time. But then two, understanding, okay, what are the things that cause me to go back to that anxiety, to go
Mm.
back to that frustration? Like, what are those things? And starting to identify, okay, so now that I know those are my triggers, how do I manage that moving forward? Right? If it's a situation where I know it's going to be there, how do I prepare myself for
Yeah.
that? Or how do
Mhm.
I remove myself as quickly as possible
Yeah.
from that situation? And so when you said, that reflective point, I think that so many people are so reactionary. They have the emotion, they react, and don't necessarily reflect on the why.
Yeah.
And so it's taking that time to go between that situation and the reaction and understanding, okay, was that the best way for me to respond
Right.
in that
Right.
situation? What could I have done better? What can I communicate? Because
Mhm.
that's the other piece that you're talking about, is being able to articulate what it is that you want or need or don't need, during those times. And so part of this whole piece around knowing of self and emotional intelligence
Mhm.
is taking the time to do those steps.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm reading this book right now as you were talking, and it's really about being in the now.
Mm.
And so it has been, oh my gosh, so loving to my soul because it really talks about, like, for one, complaining. Complaining is not accepting what is. This is
Yeah.
just what it is. And when we are in that place of acceptance, then we can free ourselves from the negativity or the a lot of times we are living in a past or future experience and we're not
Mm.
present. And
Mhm.
so we can now, identify that, okay, if I have anxiety or I'm uneasy or I'm worrying, that's a sign I am in the future. If I am depressed, if there's bitterness and there's a resentment, then I'm in the past.
Yeah.
Let me come right here present. Let me accept what this is so I'm not complaining. And then the power of acceptance is now I can make some choices, which is what you just said.
Right.
I can either use my power to speak out about it, I can leave the situation, or I can just accept it and then know I can make another choice. And it's the
Yeah.
power of choice. And when we don't realize our power of choice, we will think we're locked up in this box. And then that's when we come out, we fight and we scratching it. But
Yeah.
we're not locked up. We have the power of choice. And that would change our life. It'll change our experience.
You just said that the whole thing around complaining
Yeah.
was just an aha moment for me, because it really is like, okay, if you're going to come, you're not accepting what is.
Yeah.
The coach in me is just like, okay, so what are you going to do about it?
Hmm.
Right. And you're right. You're going to either try to fix it, you're going to walk away and leave, right? Or you're just going to accept how it is and you just move in, with whatever direction that is going.
Right.
And it's what you said, the power of choice. And I think so many people feel that they are stuck, that they
Hmm.
don't have the opportunity to choose. There may be other circumstances that limit their choice.
Hmm.
But their choice is in that as well, too.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
My
Yeah.
wheels are turning. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, there's just so much.
I'm telling you, it has, oh my gosh, it has been so empowering, even to know that it's things are only a problem because we haven't made an intention to do something.
Yeah.
The moment you make an intention to say, I'm going to move this way, I'm going to move that, it's no longer a problem.
Yeah.
It just is. Now I have a solution to fix it. Whether sometimes that solution is, I'm just going to pray about it because this is above me. There are some things that's just above me, but I'm trying to fix it on a horizontal level when it's really a spiritual level. That's
Yes.
above me. Release.
Yes. It's not on my desk right now, but I used to have a little post-it note that said, let go and let God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I can't, this is not in my sphere of control. What is in my
Right.
sphere of control? That's what I'm going to focus on. And everything else,
Absolutely. It's freeing.
it really is. It really is. So the other side of emotional intelligence is, well, not other side, not just understanding your emotions, right? So let's say we've gotten into that, but it's how we interact with others when we're going through whatever we're going through as well, too. Right. And so not too long ago, I was working with one of my sorority sisters, and she sent me this piece from Bible.com, and it talked about, what is it like to be on the other side of you, and how we are very critical of other people. And then when we come up with our list of what we need to fix it with ourselves, that list is very short. But if you were to ask the people in our lives what that list is for us, it would be much longer than we would, do for ourselves. And so that's the question I'm always asking people now is like, what is it like to be on the other side of you? Because if you're frustrated, right, how does that manifest with other people? How is that showing up with other people? If you have anxiety, or if you are way too happy, because it can go in the extremes too, right? How does that impact other people? And so that's the piece I think so many of us, especially those that are in leadership, don't necessarily understand. Like, we're getting better at tapping into our own emotions and feelings, but what does that look like to be on the other side of you when you're going through that? And so what are some of the things that you can tell people to be cognizant of as they're going through that or thinking about it?
I think is, like I said, everything starts with us.
Yeah.
And so it is literally what I have learned is, or what my experience has been for myself is, as I understand Candace, then I am more prone to be understanding of somebody else, because and I'm open. That's another thing. As leaders, you have to be open. You got to have a growth mindset. So that
Yeah.
means somebody comes to you and shares with you, this is how I'm experiencing you. And I think it's wording too. Sometimes it might just be, they might be that, that, that. So it's getting the language of, this is how I'm experiencing you, whether you feel like you're doing it or not. How I'm experiencing you is this way. And as a leader, if you know yourself, so if somebody tell me, Candace, I'm experiencing you right now, like you just want us to go, 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 go. You seem impatient. I know Candace. So you probably right, yeah, because I say I'm a recovering impatient person. So it is, I know that is me. So I now get to take a breath, take a moment to say, you know what? You right. Let me reconvene. Let me be with myself. And so just really being truthful about who you know you are, so that when somebody that you are leading comes and shares an experience with you, if you are triggered, the right there, that should be a sign to you that, okay, it's something not healed in me, that I just felt that, again, that's tapping into your emotions. I felt some type of way. I felt it in my stomach, or I felt it in my heart. So what is that about for me? Instead of lashing out at the person that is what I call one of your great teachers, because now they're showing you. I get to
Mm-hmm.
sit with it and say, okay, what was that about for me? And sometimes it's literally just taking a breath, taking a moment. We don't always have to respond in a moment. Silence is
Right.
okay. A break, a
Right.
timeout is okay. And
Right.
so as you are going through your experience as a leader, be able to take what do we call it, carefrontation, not confrontation,
Yeah.
carefrontation. Be able to receive it. And I think that's a powerful way of looking at things, how you frame that. What is it like to be on the
Yeah.
other side of you? And that takes some truth and honesty with ourselves.
It really does. And I appreciate the need for understanding the words to use, how to communicate that.
Hmm.
Because so many of us, again, speaking as somebody that's recovering, that would be from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds.
Hmm.
um, I used to just react, but it's important taking a pause and understanding, okay, how can I say this in a way that's going to
Yeah.
land effectively,
Yes.
right? And so even saying to someone, I've said this to people, often, what you just did, let me share with you how that landed on me or
Yeah.
landed for me,
Hmm.
right? And so then we can have this conversation about that. Like, oh, that wasn't my intention. Okay, understand that wasn't your intention. Like,
Right.
what is it that you're trying to say? Right.
Hmm.
So now we can have a conversation and dialogue rather than me popping off and then you popping back and then nothing gets accomplished.
Right.
Because
Right.
we're all both in our feelings and our emotions and it's escalated.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think there's part of that. There's also this fear of speaking up, this fear of um, giving someone feedback. If
Mm.
I give them feedback, then they're not going to like me
Mm.
or they're going to think of me differently.
Yeah.
Um, is that for you to hold on to? Like, that's one of those things of is that you can't control that.
And that saying they are going, a lot of that, most of that is not a they thing. That is a self-reflection moment that we are having with
Yeah.
ourselves. Oh,
Yeah.
they're going to think that. No, that's what you're currently thinking about yourself or whatever the
Yeah.
case may be. So let's not you think that, so that you don't project that idea on somebody else and keep yourself in a prison. And we got to check our egos
Yeah.
to see our egos feed off of the past and the future. If you're in the now, there's no, you don't need that ego thing, but that ego is operating from fear
Mm.
that, or the inner person, the inner child within us
Yeah.
is up and moving and running around. I know there's been times in my past where I had to tell little Candace, okay, I got this, baby. I need you to sit there, stay back. I got it. I got it. Because you were riling up or you feeling a certain type of way and calling myself higher and knowing that,
Mhm.
okay, I can handle this in this moment.
Yeah, I call my inner one sister girl. Like, yeah, I need you to sit down, calm
Yeah.
down, because she's already always
Ready.
ready set, on ready set all the time. But again, that takes maturity, that takes
Absolutely.
time and understanding your emotions and feelings, and again, those triggers
Yeah.
and unpacking that part of it. Like, why is this triggering? What about this is triggering for you?
And we got to do our part of healing and being all right with going and getting support from a professional. Like, and I
Yeah.
would say me, because of my journey of being a counselor, yeah, they was like, okay, you got to go experience it. We had to do our sessions. I've had, where I went to counseling with my husband, but the most profound healing that took place, I think those other moments were doings for me. But when
Mm.
I went through to get my spiritual life coaching program certificate, it was healing, a whole year of healing. And so I'm able to talk like this because I've done my work, and I'm still a work in progress because it's continuing. But the level of peace, the level of joy, the love, the power of choice in discovering me has been able to help me shift and know me, and because I continue on the journey. So we got to be all right with going and doing our own personal work. I believe the trainings are opening the door, and you got to just be truthful for what you feel on the inside. Like, I need more. So
Yeah. I love that, right? Trainings just open the door,
yeah.
right? That is not the end all be all.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the starting point.
Yeah.
And so, I've said on this show a million times, this work, if you're doing diversity and inclusion, inclusive leadership, whatever it is, if you are leading other people,
Mm,
the work needs to start with you. You
mm,
can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. And if
mm.
your emotions are controlling you, right, then you're not leading yourself. So therefore, you can't lead anybody else. I mean, and that's what it is. And I go back to the very first episode with Farrah Harris, and she talked about, like your emotions are like walking a dog,
Mm.
right? If that dog is leading you, your emotions are controlling you. They're taking you where they want to go, right? Or if they're behind you, you can't even see them coming.
Yeah.
So if something's going to come at you, like you're not going to even be prepared. And so
Yeah.
you need to be side by side, with your emotions. And having that conversation with her, it was just such a profound moment for me, in that so many of us are either led by our emotions or so disconnected from them
Yeah.
that we don't even know or understand. And so as you are working with other people in a leadership capacity in the workplace, be it corporate, nonprofit, what have you, you still need to do that inner work on yourself.
Yes.
Um, One, and two, we're not cogs in a wheel. We are human beings with
Yes.
feelings and life and emotion and all of that. We don't leave those things at the door.
Yeah.
Though so many organizations want all of that stuff left at the door.
Oh my goodness.
You
Oh
can't.
my goodness. I had to tell some teachers that before. Like, this whole thing of don't come in my room with all of that. Leave that at the door. Like, y'all are telling kids to do that.
Mm-mm.
Adults do not even, you
Yeah.
can't leave something at the door that is a part of you.
Yeah.
Wherever you
Mm.
go, there you are. Like, and one of the teachers was like, I use that phrase all the time. So how do I get out of using that phrase? It's called
Mhm.
acceptance
Yeah.
of the people that you serve, and understanding, like you said, we are human. So if they're coming in here with this, is not what's wrong with you, which is a lot of what educators say. What's wrong with you? What's wrong?
Mhm.
No, it's what happened to you. What happened
Mhm.
to you that will make you this angry? Or what happened to you that this morning it's 8 o'clock and you're in your emotions of what happened?
Right. What's
And
going on?
yeah,
Right.
it's such a
Yeah.
more powerful question that makes you inquire about the person
Yeah.
instead of making them wrong with what's wrong with you. You're making them wrong about an emotion or experience that they had. And sometimes, definitely for kids, they're unaware that, okay, yeah, I can't control this, I can't fix this. But some of our kids, their things are coming from a parent. And so I'm so great, so
Mhm.
glad you said that statement.
Yeah. I mean, it is. I have a cousin who's done DEI work. She's been on the show. And she's just like, okay, so what part of me am I leaving at the door? My arm, my leg, like
Right.
it is a part of who I am. I can't leave being a mother at the door. I can't
Mhm.
leave being a daughter at the door.
Yeah.
And so you bring all of those things, those experiences, those situations
Yeah.
with you.
Hmm.
And now are you asking me to compartmentalize some of those things? For a moment, I can,
Yeah.
but you can't always do that. And it shapes how you see the world. It shapes how you interact with other people. It shapes all of those things. And so the more and more I do this work, it is exactly what you're saying. You are now connecting with another human, right? At a human level, and understanding that that comes with all the good, bad, the flaws, the beauty, all of that together. And you can't just parcel pick which ones you want to deal with on a particular day.
Yeah. And even that in itself, if something you do, I'm telling you, we all are teachers and are students of life in the moment. So if they're doing something and it's bothering you, why is it bothering you? It's
Yeah.
it's just constantly asking ourselves questions to go deeper so that we can learn and we can become more intelligent of ourselves.
Yeah.
It's
I love it.
everything leads back to us.
Yeah. Amen. So speaking of us, that was a good transition. Like, what are the things that you do to take care of you? How do you fill your cup and make sure that you can then serve others?
Okay, so I do a few things. I definitely have a morning spiritual practice that it is consistent because I know that I need it. So it's starting my day, prayer, meditation, journaling, and some music. Um, and as I go throughout my day, in those moments where I feel like, okay, I need to fill up. I love to dance, so it just depending on where I'm at. It might be some Kurt Franklin, or it might be some mystical.
Hey,
It just kind of depends on where I'm at and how my spirit needs to be. And when I do take a moment to sit down, which I'm having to transition this a little bit. I love reality shows when it comes to
mm,
relationships and crime shows. But this week or last week, I was telling myself, okay, I gotta listen to my spirit. I gotta back off the crime shows for now.
because they will suck you in.
I'm like first 48, fatal attraction. I'm like, but it's doing something to my mind. So I'm backing off. But when I just need a moment just to feel good, I sit down and watch some love reality shows. So that's how. And I hang with my girls once. I'm in sorority as well. So once a month we get together, have a girls' night out. And so that is very fun, to where we just be back in college and just hanging, taking off all our hats, and we just
Right.
be ourselves.
Just be. I
Yeah.
love it. So if people wanted to get in contact with you, Candace, what is the best way for them to do that?
Okay, so they could, first of all, they can go to my website because that's pretty much going to give you avenues to everything else. So www.candacetuck.com. And I'm also on Facebook at Candace Tuck, and Instagram at the chiropractor. And then if you want to shoot me an email, you absolutely can at wewillwin@candacetuck.com.
Love it. Love it. Candace, thank you so much for this conversation. I mean, time flew.
Yes.
Because this is something that I think is so important. And again, going through my journey has been something that I've been very intentional about tapping into, because again, I can't show up for others if I can't even show up for myself or
Let me
understand.
tell y'all, if y'all missed the word, she just said intentional.
Yes, intentional. Absolutely. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
Wonderful. And everyone, thank you for tuning in. I hope that you were able to learn something about yourself, be intentional about understanding your emotions. If you want a copy of the emotions wheel, let me know. I can get that to you. We are here every Tuesday at 5:15 p.m. Eastern, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. And until next time, have a good one.